Hello guys, Coach Theo here on Common Sense. Today it's story time. It's probably going to be a long video as I take you through the story of how I went from a skinny fat, depressed, anxious, hedonist, nihilist, hipster, loser kind of a guy. You know, that kind of a guy, lazy, lacking ambition, just completely lost in life, just escaping reality and numbing his pain through all these different vices such as alcohol, drank a lot, weed, partying, hooking up with girls or watching porn, spending hours and hours on playing video games, well, for hours and hours on end, same thing, binge watching TV series, and just surrounding himself with the same kind of people, with the same kind of values, or lack thereof. Two, jacked and stacked Giga Chad, alright? Man of God, full of love for himself and everyone else, basically everything a man should be. And as your narcissism detector goes through the roof here, you know, there's a saying, I wasn't bragging, just telling the truth. So I feel like I've told this story over and over and over and over. I'm like sick of myself. I like feel like that's all I've done on this channel. Talk about what I've been through and how I've changed. But I see from some questions I get from you guys lately, as the channel has been kind of exploding, that a lot of you like the physical aspect and mindset and all that, but training, the diet, all that stuff. Yes, it's interesting, but a lot of you want to know, like, oh, when did you change? How did you change? How were you before? And all that kind of stuff. So I think it's time for a longer just walkthrough. The story of little hipster loser Theo turning into uncommon sense, jacked and stacked Giga Chad Theo. And first of all, before I get into it, the way I talk about my former self, you know, loser, blah blah kind of guy, and talk about what I did, you might think it was worse than it was, but I'm just honest about it. A lot of guys, young men, this is what you are. Maybe you weren't a hipster, for instance, but these are the things you do. So if you can like feel like you recognize things, but thinking I was probably worse off, most likely not. You're probably just as bad, or were just as bad, wherever you are in your process. But so I'm gonna give you a little abridged version of kind of my whole upbringing, right up until the point when I hit rock bottom and when this big change started. And I'll talk a bit about how I got into training and all that, but I won't be detailed about it. Like, this is not the video, oh, how I went from not fit to fit. It's the story of how I went from the previous version of me that's now dead and buried to the person you see today. So I'm born in 1992. I'm 31 today. And yes, I was born to my parents, and I have a brother, a little brother that I love very much, and I'm like his best friend these days. But he is autistic, very, very obviously different. And this is something that kind of dominated my childhood. Like, I could tell as a kid I was smart, you know. People like during, like, we were talking a few years old to in my teens, people always thought I was older than I am, a lot for my verbal capacity and just understanding of things. And I could just tell that compared to my peers, when I started going to school and stuff, like everything we did in school was like easy to me. They struggled with the math and the grammar and all. For me it was just like, okay, it was just something I did, you know. But so I have my brother who's autistic, and this I also did not have from a little later on in my life, not the best relationship with my parents, but okay, this is something that dominated my upbringing. Like, with my little brother, that took so much attention that I got attention deficit. You know, I'm gonna get to the point that I have officially ADHD, you know, attention deficit hyper disorder, you know. It's kind of true that but it's not you that have a deficit in your ability to pay attention. It's attention deficit. You didn't get the attention you needed and deserved, not the right kind of attention anyway. So yeah, it's just this, that my brother takes a lot of energy and focus from my parents, but also that we fight a lot. And you know, siblings fight, but it's over completely unreasonable things. Like, one thing I was not allowed to do, for instance, is lock the bathroom door. That was like waving the red blanket in front of a bull. If I accidentally autopiloted it, I just know, okay, I'm in for a beating now. Of course, I could beat him up too, but that was the entire thing in my story too. I'm always told that, oh, you have to kind of, no, but he doesn't understand better. You have to stay calm. You can, oh no, you can fight with him. And so I always tried to not make these things happen. But of course, I'm just a little kid. It's way too much responsibility for a kid. But yeah, this very much affected me. Like I can remember feeling feelings of depression and anxiety, like in the single digits of age. You know, typically little kids don't experience those things. It's in the teens that those things start happening because you're just so pure, full of life as a kid. But I had some really, I'll say that the thing I always had easy with him, we had money, you know, not Giga rich or anything, but above average money in the family. That was never a struggle. But when it comes to the emotional part, I often say, materially spoiled, emotionally neglected. But yeah, so I experienced those kinds of things quite early in life. And then it was, when it comes to school, I had an easy time in school, as I mentioned. But as soon as there was more, you know, this kind of study at home, memorize a bunch of crap and write it on the exam, suddenly I was not as good anymore. And in my teens, I definitely got more depressed and stuff. I remember thinking at least that I was suicidal in my early teens. Now when I talk, because I would talk a bit about it, and I could see it was kind of a cry for attention. Now it's something I've learned, that a lot of people that think they're suicidal, they're not. Like, just because you feel right now like I just wish it was over, if you're actually faced with the risk of it being over, you're gonna notice that I didn't really think that way. But so in my teens, basically, you know, this is when I start skipping school and stuff, and it's always been in the cards for me that, yeah, he's gonna get the top grades for everything, and because he's smart, of course, he's gifted, that's what's expected of him. Now suddenly I have struggles in school, and I get this dumb label ADHD, that I don't really buy into these. You know, I see how it can serve a purpose to kind of categorize people, but it's too big of a topic to go into here. I've always kind of known that I don't have the like neurotypical brain. I've just been able to tell. But this with putting, you know, how angry it makes me, not for me personally now, but okay, you're a fucking gifted kid. You're in school, and you that you don't like sitting all day listening to someone that's less intelligent than you talk about a bunch of things that you will never have use for in your life, and that you have a trouble concentrating on this, and you start skipping school and stuff, and you don't like it. Oh, now there's a problem with you now. Let's have a meeting and discuss Theo's problems here. Oh yeah, he has an attention deficit disorder. It's so wrong. Like, even you don't have to be an ADHD kind of person for this to not be alright. Like, especially little boys or teenage boys, we're not made to sit in a chair and just listen to someone go on and on about bullshit so we'll never have any use for, unless we go into very specific career paths. You know, most of the things we did at school, it felt like a waste of time to me. So, you know, as a teenager, honestly, I wrote, when it comes to girls, I wrote a little high between I was 10 and 12. And I was just super popular with the girls in my class, and I would be together with one of them, and then break up, be with one of the other ones. I remember the only time one of the girls dumped me, I was devastated. But of course, just for a couple of days back then. But I remember, as I get to it's a big one for me. I notice, like, I care a lot about girls. Because all guys, they don't get, like, you know, of course, all guys that aren't like asexual will have some interesting girls, but they don't make it such a big deal. Everyone, I could tell, like, hooking up with girls and that, and I feel that was something I really, really like wanted to do. And it's interesting because it was a struggle for me at times. I lacked a lot from my upbringing. My relationship with my parents was not good. You know, I lacked a lot of self-esteem. I had high confidence in certain of my abilities, but not very good self-esteem. The difference, confidence is just that you trust your ability to do something, and self-esteem is like the way you feel about yourself. But so this was the thing, like from my teens. I also, with my poor relationship with my parents, you know, my mom was so afraid that I would make the same mistakes that she did, that she treated me as like guilty before I was, accused me of wanting to go out and drink when I held on to it. I don't want to start drinking because I knew that my dad started drinking late. So even when other people, when I'm like 14, start drinking, I didn't want to. But I got shit from my mom either way for it. So I figured, you know, let's just do it. And so in school, the way I approached school was basically, you know, there was a part of me that I felt that I'd been so smart as a kid, and I feel this pressure from my family and stuff, that I should be getting good grades, and just society, that's what you do. You go to school and you get the grades, and then you go to a university, blah blah. So on one hand, I felt big pressure for this, but on one other hand, I felt, I knew within me that this is all bullshit. I don't really care about it. So the kind of compromise I ended up with for myself was that, okay, I don't completely neglect school, but I put in as little effort as possible, because then I can always write that see, I managed to get pretty good grades by almost not trying. And I didn't, it's a little bit of protection from the fact that I thought I could have done better. But it's also when I'm not sure, I have this within me, like, on one hand, I feel like I should be getting good high grades going for that. On one hand, it feels like a waste of time, and I hate it. I just hate the entire process of this. But so I finished school with like decent grades. Like, I should say that during, like, I go in and out of very depressive states. Many times I wish that I could just, not necessarily kill myself and it all, but can I just turn off my brain and emotions. I had a lot of this. Like, what I always say is, even when I talk about my old self as an anxious, depressed person, it's not a permanent state, but it's like I would always end up there at some point, So after high school, when I passed with like I said, pretty good grades. I went to a nice, good school, so on the average they're not so good, but like compared to the national average and like this, I skipped school so much, I would catch up on everything, literally everything, for like a math test the day before, and managed to get like, the second highest grade or something. But so right after school, I started off okay. I had like just a sales job on the phone. I forget about it, but I actually got like a girlfriend then. In this kind of video, I don't know exactly what I should be focusing on, because there are some things I know some of you will be able to relate to. But in a sense, I felt like I never fit in. Like, people would just find their place in a group, and I never quite found it. Like, I had some friend groups that I would be in, and I liked it for the most part, but I will always feel like there's some disconnect. Like, I'm getting used here somehow. Like, so many times it would end up happening that I feel like I have my friend group, and like, I am there for people when they need it, and then I just get backstabbed, or they're just not the same thing back at all. And people always knew, they could always tell that I feel bad. I want to say yes, I want to be helping out. So people kind of knew how they could push me and make me feel bad and make me do things, and then I never returned the favor, And this was just a theme, and I felt like in the end I got backstabbed so many times. But I started working there in this job, and I have a pretty good time. I'm making some money for the first time in my life, Had this girlfriend for a while. Honestly, I wasn't so nice to her. Like, she was clearly in love with me, and I liked her and everything, but I used the situation a little bit, and that kind of just ended without an official end, I remember. But one of the best things I did in my previous life was I joined this choir, one of the best men's courses in the world, 08, and that was like my thing. Even when I had nothing in life, I always had this 08. That was my serious thing. Later on, I even was on the board, But the thing about me was, something I developed and had a huge fear of in school too. Like, I had huge stage fright, and you see, that's kind of ridiculous, because you see the way I am with a camera here and that. I'm like, now I'm not on a stage right now, of course, but stage fright, it was just in those like presentation kind of situations where I got that acute anxiety, almost like a panic attack. But I know now that it's something that it's a fear of exposing yourself, expressing yourself authentically, being seen, and then ultimately rejected and abandoned for who you are. And this is a fear that all human beings have to some degree. But so in this choir, I often felt like I'm supposed to have some kind of leadership position, because I'm a fucking born leader. I just didn't know it then, but I was always too scared to take that space. But I could manage our social media and stuff, and that way I got a sort of leadership position, but a little from behind the scenes. And I'm of course not the behind the scenes, I'm a right here in your face, in front of you kind of person. But yes, so I quit that sales job, and the second actually good thing I did in my life was that I learned to play online poker. so I could make a living on online poker for a while. But basically, all I did in my 20s, like at some times of this, I barely worked, I barely had any money. I just spent time with other guys, just drifting about in the same way. And it's kind of like either work or just fucking do nothing, be at home, play video games and stuff. And then go out drinking our brains out in the weekends and sometimes in the middle of the week too. And yeah, the poker, I had some upswings, I had some good times during the poker. But even me then, I just felt like it wasn't a good lifestyle. Like I was up when everyone was sleeping, I was sleeping when everyone else was up. I got a little isolated. Yeah, I decided to quit that at some point. And then it was like when I was 21 or something, I've been just drifting about, not feeling good about life. Many times depressed, many times I have anxiety over something. And I remember, because I've never had a big political interest. But I remember I hear all these things about racism bad, feminism good and stuff. And I've never really cared much about it. And then I just remember reading something in a paper criticizing like white men. And I remember it was going on and on so aggressive about white men. And I was like, wait a minute, like, is it this against everything I was told? Like, this is both sexism and racism, right? Of course, as you know, probably, and that I got to know later on, that it's a very strange ideology where you can just be racist towards some people and just sexist towards some. And I'm not going to go into that too much, but basically I became a doomer. I became like one of these angry white men. I was just more and more radicalized. Like you never start out feeling like I hate immigrants, I hate women. Like you're angry at society, the establishment, politicians, the media, and so on. But gradually, as it gets darker and darker, you start hating everyone, And I'll say, because this is not going to be main topic here, but many of the ideas, just facts, I learned then. It's not like I don't believe them anymore, but it's this hate that I now see. A lot of people are blind to, including myself. You think everything is justified. But when you let go of that hate, that really comes from within. You're projecting something inside of you. You feel miserable in some kind of way, and instead of looking within, you look without and find something to blame. And you're just gonna see when that hate is removed from you, your perspective on all of this will change. But so years and years, when I just more radicalized with that, you get addicted almost to just reading the news and raging over things. But I ended up having a girlfriend again in my 20s, as I actually started studying journalism. It was a very naive idea back then, because I tried to come up with something to do with my life. I felt always I was so smart and had so much potential, but I had no idea what to do with it. Of course, I'm good with words. Of course, I felt like I could see some things. Okay, journalism, that would kind of make sense. But I learned, we're going to get to that it's rotten from the inside. If you want to make a difference when it comes to influencing with people's ideas and stuff, the mainstream media is just not it. But at the same time, I actually, when I started using Tinder, it just seemed like a convenient way to meet girls to hook up with. That's really what I was thinking. But I happened to, fall in love, I guess, with a girl, the first girl I met through Tinder then. And so we were in a relationship. I guess I had, a little bit of an upswing in life. I have a girlfriend, like my first real relationship in that sense, when I actually lived with someone, and that. I guess I'm studying, I'm making some friends there, I'm doing my choir thing, I had some good times. But still, I noticed so much though that I have some things that I thought would make me happy, but I don't really, And that relationship, it just turned, it's kind of funny. I was so angry, alt-right kind of guy, and of course I met like a feminist. Like a sweet girl. Like I don't want to say anything too bad about her now. I had hold nothing against her, but it's so funny, we attract our mirror image always. And why I was an angry alt-right kind of guy, I attracted kind of angry feminist kind of girl. The difference is, of course, that all her ideas is like cheered on. Yeah, you go, girl. Yes, Queen Slay. And I felt like I had to keep all my opinions kind of a secret, or not expose all of it at least. But that relationship ended. And a big part it ended, like I felt trapped in this relationship. Like we enabled each other to you know, we didn't take out, we didn't grow together. We both got fatter together and stuff, because we would drink together and eat crap and just be at home, have sex. You know, don't do that much more. You know, maybe go out with some of our friends and just get shit-faced too. But then I felt trapped in that relationship, and I wanted out because, well, really, honestly, a big reason was that I wanted to sleep with other girls. And I know this so much, that this just comes from a guy with a mother wound and a lack of validation from within. You think it's something, that it's just some arbitrary number, like, oh, I need to sleep with enough girls and then I'll feel good about myself. So yeah, that was a reason I wanted out. And I remember I was so happy when I got out of that relationship first. I just remember coming home for the first time, like, yes, I just have the apartment for myself. And I had actually, for the first time before Uncommon Sense, I had actually, for the first time in my life, actively lost weight. Because some guys, I guess I had looked quite, you know, if I say something about my training background, as a kid and teenager, I did some sports. I was running and did little, like, push-ups and stuff. So I was never like now, but, you know, somewhat athletic looking, some abs and a little bit of definition, but kind of small guy. You know, but so I guess some friends made fun of me because I had kind of, in my relationship, just become kind of fat. So I was just kind of like challenge accepted, and I lost weight basically by doing a low carb diet and playing a lot of Pokemon Go, walking around. The point is really that I looked better than I had in a while when I ended that relationship, and I went on to sleep with some girls. First, I think I'm enjoying it, but I'm noticing very fast that didn't give me anything. I started having regrets about my ex, get into this kind of toxic situationship when she's been kind of hurt by me. Like, I cheated on her once, not really having sex, but I kissed another girl, and it was kind of me being too much of a coward to break up, so I kind of self-sabotage, so I have to. I remember after having done that though, I realized I can never do that to a person again, because I felt so horrible about it, and I just knew how bad I would feel about it. But you know, she of course, she loved me and she wanted to be with me, but you know, she wanted to protect herself from being hurt. And it's a very good situation for her when she can be kind of a slut if she wants to and go out, and I kind of want to get back together. But so we would go out and hook up at times, and it was kind of toxic and not very good. I wanted to go again. I suddenly was like madly in love with her. So this goes on and off for some time. I had to break it off with her completely at some point, realizing I didn't get what I wanted. I was very sad, but you know, it's for me, apart from the general depression, anxiety life, like the things that have affected me the most are like heartache, really. But so, you know, towards the end of my journalism studies, I like started realizing that, you know, I knew from a long time that this is not what I want to do, but it's just kind of, I don't know what to do in life, so I just study it. You know, you get some support from the state. I have a part-time job. This is how I make a living in a sense. But as it's almost over, I started realizing that I'll never be able to do this. Like, I hate it. I absolutely hate not writing and doing videos like in that, but doing it within the mainstream media is just terrible. So I had a summer job, just a customer service job, nothing special, but I ended up staying there for a while because I took a study break, like having to think about life, like what should I do really. And this is when things really started to fall apart. Like I said, in and out of different degrees of anxiety and depression for years. Just live this lifestyle of, like, I have my choir that's decent, but then I just study or have some job that I don't really care about, and the rest of the time is spent escaping reality with getting shit-faced with the guys, trying to hook up with some girl, smoking a bunch of weed, eating a bunch of junk food, you know, like, so now I'm having an existential crisis more than ever, because I've had many throughout this time, but I'm just like, I'm sitting here, I have all this potential, I know I'm smart, I know I'm meant for more. I'm sitting here at some little customer service job. I've just spent years studying something I absolutely don't know what to do. I feel, you know, one thing was still for me, I wanted to feel more like an alpha, you know, like a Chad. I don't feel like I have that, I'm that person whatsoever. The world is just going to hell with all this political stuff, the immigration, the crazy feminism and all this, you know. And of course I don't think of it that way then, because I have much worse awareness about the body, you know, like the physical. Of course, through these years of these poor habits, when I neglect sleep, diet, I don't exercise. I drink a bunch. I'm breaking myself down. That's why it's, apart from just my existential, like, psychological crisis, I'm of course breaking down my hardware as well. And so I remember just that I'm not in a good place. I didn't know it then, but I was burnt out. I would come home and I would just, like, after work, I would just lie in the sofa. I was completely wiped out. And I would dream, sleep, dreamless sleep. I would just pass the F out. I would have to put 50 alarms in the morning now, which I can't even comprehend. I've never had to do that for years now. But one day, this customer service job, by the way, I didn't mind it. It was not stressful for me. But one day at this job, I have a panic attack. And it's crazy. It feels like you're going crazy because it feels like you're like a psychedelic trip is starting almost. Just that that I haven't taken any drug. And just everything, all the noises in the air. What people are talking about, everything is like knives being thrown in the air. It feels so strange to hear them talk about so like ordinary everyday stuff while I'm here feeling like it's fight or flight, And I realized otherwise sitting just seeing my hand tremble like crazy that I must be having a panic attack. And so I remember just unplugging from the call program and finding the strength to just walk on over to my team leader and be like, I think I'm having a panic attack. She could see I was just a mess. So I could leave. Coming to the bus, I can't be on the bus. I can't be in such a tight space. I don't have any history of claustrophobia, by the way. So I walk away to the subway. Getting there, it's the same. I can't go on the subway. So I end up walking for like 2 hours home. I come home. It's still kind of going. Like everything, I was feeling as if I was looking at the world in VR glasses. Everything felt unreal. When I was looking down at my hand, it didn't feel like my hand. I remember being like... So I'm like, this is insane. And this is how I know that many people that think they're suicidal are not. Because this was such an uncomfortable experience that just would not stop. That I started being like, I literally can't go on like this. And it's terrified me. Like the enemy is within, I don't want to die, but there's someone here that's gonna kill me if this doesn't change. And I realized I did not want to die. So I remember starting to Google like feelings of unrealness is kind of what I Googled. I kind of figured out, okay, it's a panic attack, and you read all these things that, it feels very intense, but it's not dangerous. It's like, it doesn't help me. Well, it feels dangerous that I'm almost about to kill myself. I remember just trying to distract myself. I remember watching Seinfeld, and at some point, it just started to take off a little bit, and I remember just feeling like, such a relief. But I understood from the intensity of this, like on the one hand, it's a shock because you can't be prepared for something like that. On the other, it wasn't, because I had been on a downward trajectory, for a very long time. I've not seen myself as someone that's feeling well and doing well. And now, especially recently, I've just gone, there were little things now looking back that started happening before. I didn't get a panic attack, but for instance, I just felt, I started thinking, do I have allergies? Or I feel something is off. So dumb, starting to think I'm allergic to something. Like maybe it's your complete crap lifestyle of drinking like a madman, just eating junk food and neglecting your sleep completely, not extra. Maybe it's that, that makes you so effed up. Like physical problems I had that I almost don't remember is like IBS. My gut was just destroyed, terrible. Would have headaches often. I would just get energy dips, feel like I could go to sleep in the middle of the day, stuff like that. All is gone today. By the way, but where were we? Like, yeah, while it's a shock to get a panic attack like that when you never had one like that, like in these stage fright kind of situations I had, but then it made sense. I was nervous about a specific thing. This is just like, it just happens, So it's shocking. At the same time, it wasn't surprising because I had just been feeling worse and worse and worse, and was like, yeah, okay, this is rock bottom pretty much. So this was my first wake-up call. Like the impulse was to just hide away, stay at home. But I just knew I had always run. Like I had run from all the situations with the stage fright. I really felt I wanted to do a YouTube kind of thing. I wanted to be in front of people, do things, but I always run instead of facing that fear. Now when it was like amplified by 1,000 was when I actually got my shit together and was like, okay, my alternatives here are eventually killing myself or living my life as a shut-in or like drugged up on medication or facing this and overcoming it. I understood somehow, because some people that have panic attacks, they actually think they are dying. You know, I knew I wasn't dying. I just realized I have that experience, and it's like my entire vehicle here playing a trick on me. So when I arranged so I could go on sick leave for 50%, so I still have the habit of going to work, but I still get more time to rest, you know. But I realized if I stayed at home the first day after panic attack, but this can't become a pattern. But so many days, you know, I just make it out the door and have to turn back. So down to the subway, see all the people, have to make it back. Or I get to my job, but I still have to leave earlier than agreed upon. But I kept this thing going. I tried every day. And when I was done with that, I just came home and did whatever, you know, just YouTube, video games, and it was a very mixed time in my life. Because on the one hand, I had to face this intense panic, like having like a psychedelic trip gone wrong is the experience, pretty much on a daily basis. But I feel so immense gratitude at home, like that, yes, wow, I made it, you know. And this is, I didn't realize it back then, but this is when I started finding God. I'd always been an angry atheist, I think, because of the suffering I experienced early in life, and like the just seeming unfairness that my brother was born the way he was. Because I always, even if I had problems with it, I always felt so bad for him too, you know. And of course, a secular country like Sweden, all this combination makes it easy to end up an atheist. I didn't realize it then, but what I started noticing was God. Like there was a presence within me, and this presence got stronger. It was something. It's like I got your back, and it transformed my ego voice inside that always had just been inner angry, hating on me, you know, just not supportive at all, negative, afraid, scared, hateful towards me. And suddenly the voice, because I knew how difficult what I was going through was, so it was like I appreciated myself so much for actually trying, for not giving up on myself. I almost get like, I get emotional thinking about it, because it was such an intense time. And it's always so big at those times when you realize that, I was in hell and I'm not anymore. I always get very moved when I hear others' similar stories as well. But so, of course, these are months when this is going on, I, of course, have still not learned everything, so I will take some times to escape, you know, go out drinking with the boys, stuff like this, you know. But I'm starting to have to pay such a much higher price for it, because I'm already in a very poor shape and can get panic attacks every day. Get so much worse when hungover, you know. Also smoking weed, you know how that is with anxiety, so amplified everything. So gradually I moved away from that. And when the work, I started having to face this more than other than work. You know, I'm in this choir. Just going to the rehearsals felt crazy. Like, there was one big turning point was in Moscow, when we have a concert. I'm freaking out before. I want to bail. But I managed to get out on the concert stage. And like, it wasn't my best performance. I had to skip a lot of notes and just mouth along, you know. But still keep my place there in the choir. So it's not a hole in the choir, because, you know, you have certain spots to stand in. And sing when I can, and I was so proud of myself. No one else could know, but I knew. I walked in as if I'm facing death, you know. And yeah, there are more times like this. I remember competing with a quartet, even barbershop quartet. Super nervous, because I'm in this poor state, and it's still already before getting panic attacks was a challenging thing for me. But there comes a point when I just noticed that the panic attacks have stopped. This is like 4 months later from the first one. I'm still in quite poor shape in general, but I'm starting to feel just so like, wow, it's actually over. This thing that has felt like hell. So many, even if I've decided that I'm getting over it, many days it feels like I'm never getting over it. This is never getting better. I went so far that I fucked up forever in my life. And I'm like, I've been given a new chance. So that's when I was like, okay, I'll consider this. They say that eating better and exercising is actually good for mental health too. And I should say, you know, I did exercise some in my teens and that, but from being 20, like nothing. I never ate well. So I just started doing like little negative pull-ups that I'd done before for a little while, and just improving my diet, removing as much obvious junk and just eating real food, you know. And very soon, just 2 weeks into this very, very little change, I just noticed that in situations that could still not give me a panic attack, when I felt pressure, like being out and about where there's a lot of people or something, I just felt like there was like something on the lid on the pot, I've said many times before, just kept it all from boiling over. And so I just knew that this is the path. And so I started just doing this more. That's the part I'm not going to get into detail. It's basically me progressing from very small home workouts to bigger and bigger home workouts. And it's somewhere, it's hard to draw the line from when I transformed, but it's somewhere around here. I just noticed that things that used to bother me don't anymore. I feel much more comfortable in my own skin. It felt nostalgic. It reminded me of the way I felt as a kid, and that's what I realized about spiritual awakenings that I absolutely see as a real thing, and exactly what happened to me is that a spiritual awakening, especially after having hit rock bottom so hard, like the way I did, it's like you peel a lot of layers of like just garbage you picked up on, programming you pick up. We're born pure. We know who we are when we're born, but then that's what you call in the Christianity, that we are fallen. We fall away from God. We pick up all this worldly programming of how we should be, beliefs about ourselves and about the world and that. And when so much just removed at once, it's nostalgic. I'm the purest. I felt like I was that kid just enjoying life again. So examples of this is that this need to hook up with girls, that it would be an obsessive quest on my mind a lot of the time, it just had went away, And so naturally also things like drinking and that, I still, girls and drinking, it was something I still felt like doing. I still had a habit, but just I had been extreme before. Like with a thing like alcohol, when I drank, I didn't have I'm gonna drink this amount. I drank until I black out, and now I would just naturally stop sooner than that. And so, of course, when I realized that fitness is something I want to do, I actually try to go against even my current want of this. But let's talk, because this is becoming a long video. Had no idea exactly what things I would be bringing up as I started. But things that I have to, because I feel automatically a lot better coming out on this other side of the panic attack ordeal and just starting to improve my habits. But then there are new challenges, I post my story when I trained for like 4 or 5 months, and I basically gone from, at that point, just skinny fat to, having abs, having a little bit of shape, looking athletic again, But mainly I'm feeling so much better. I share my story. In a way, I've shared it for you now, but just with the whole panic attack thing. And put the transformation pic. And I got on Facebook, my private Facebook back then. Again, overwhelmingly positive response. But then I started noticing this, that there's a lot of talk about my behind my back, that he thinks he's all that now, does he need to show off, just thinks he looks so good and blah blah. And I actually didn't care too much. I was more like surprised, because I knew how much I was just so happy about the change. I know there's other people struggling like me. They need to know, and the whole physical thing, especially at that point, because now I'm very much into getting jacked and stacked, big, when I've reached a high level. But back then I haven't reached such a high level yet. That showing the physical transformation is very much just to that what I learned. The inside shows on the outside. Look at this drastic change I've made. It's representative of this story I'm telling you about my mental health. But so what I notice is, the people I used to spend time with, different cliques of people, like either I just started, without disliking them, I just started feeling as if I don't enjoy these situations where we're supposed to get together, like Uber Eats something, eat bullcrap food, drink a bunch. Maybe if we're not too lazy and just end up being inside and smoking weed and playing video games or whatever we do, maybe we go out and keep drinking and somewhere. If you're really lucky, you sleep with a girl or something. And I just know that I don't care about these. These things just feel like they're interrupting what I actually want to do. And I also started feeling with some people, I just felt like when I'm with these people, I get pulled into old bad habits, like not as bad as back in the day, but it keeps me from growing. So there's a start. When you start waking up, have the spiritual awakening and start healing, a thing you often have to do is to start cutting people out of your life. And it's not black and white. But some people, they just have to go. But you know, relationships is not either, oh, we spend time together all the time, or we don't know each other. Some relationships can transform too. But these have been challenges, of course. People want, a lot of people, even people that say they're happy for you and the change they've done, as soon as you're like, okay, what the hell, I wasn't going to drink, but give me a drink, then now they're cheering on. You know, people really want you. They want to pull you back down to their level instead of coming up to your level. So there was a lot of this, learning this, and I had to practice setting boundaries a lot. You know, a guy like me, I have been, you know, we don't want to admit this, because I could stand my ground in certain situations, but in some situations I was just boundaryless. I just felt like I had to say yes. I just feel like I have to go along with stuff, or else I'm mean, you know. Like, we can get into all these things I'm talking about. The people-pleasing behavior, it's a video in its own, you know. But I started having to practice these things to actually stand up for me. Know that I'm not saying no out of some kind of meanness. No, I'm just choosing me now. I'm choosing what's best for me now. And if this person can handle it, well, they're being selfish. You know, I've been treated my entire life that people just want me to be there for them and do so. And when I dare to think even 1% about myself, I'm selfish, you know. And so I've had to learn to deprogram all this shit. There's a particular one friend that I'm still friends with. But, and like I said, relationships go round, so they transform, and sometimes many times. This is an area where he always wants to pull me into stuff, you know. And I've had to practice setting boundaries and that a lot. But it's also learning to navigate with your family. Like, in my family, like, I have a much better relationship to my family now, but there's a point when you start waking up, you start backtracking and seeing what went wrong in your life. You might feel first some anger, resentment towards your parents, like they did this and this and this. I wouldn't have had to struggle with this if they blah blah blah. So I forgave my parents, you know, like very officially, inspired by Jesse Lee Peterson. I have that old video too. Your parents destroyed you and you need to forgive them. I haven't watched that in a long time. It's a very old one, but it's something you should do, you know. Forgiveness in this life, it's not the same as saying that what people did to you was okay. It's acknowledging it, that it hurt you, but that you let go, you choose to move on. And it's just always more powerful when you tell that person. So mainly your parents usually, but I did it to some other people that I had held resentment, held a grudge towards for a long time. And look, many times people, they know when they've done you wrong. And some people actually appreciate it. Didn't come to you. The point is not that they need to say they're sorry. It's you forgiving him. That's the point. But of course, it's better for everyone involved if they actually say sorry too. And many times when you are the bigger person, when someone has wronged you, and you come first and say, I forgive you, you will get that excuse. And you actually, that person will end up happy as well. But in my family, like everyone drinks, okay? I'm not saying necessarily excessively, but Swedish culture, like some people just drink an unnecessary amount when they get together, and it's a big change for people that I don't want to be drinking a bunch. I don't want to be eating a bunch of crap. I don't want to stay late. So there's quite a bit of friction with me and my family, just like there's been with some friend groups, like and there's another area to practice boundary setting. Because of course, when you want to leave earlier, when you don't want to join in on the drinks with everyone, people treat you as if you're somehow damaging them, but they don't think of it. They're people. Always the people that call you selfish that are most selfish. Because, you know, I want to say, I have a good relationship. I love my family, and it's different, it's transformed, but I have to be able to talk from my perspective here, right? That you know, you get treated as if you're the one ruining the fun when you don't want to drink, for instance, or you want to leave early. But it's kind of like, but you guys, I'm not coming here and say, let's not drink today. Can we all go home early today? You are the ones that want me to do things your way. You're not thinking with me at all, you know. So I had to learn to set boundaries in that. And this led to, I think this happens a lot, that when you go on a journey like this, a part of it, you're supposed to spend a lot of time by yourself, like I did, you know. I finished some studies after the panic attack thing, and I started working on myself with the training and all that. And I spent a lot of time, I would meet some friends in it, but a lot of time by myself, and I loved it, you know. Because now, for the first time, I had self-love, like as a more permanent state. For the first time in life. So, you know, when you love yourself, you're always in good company. You know, being alone, feeling alone, it's not about whether you're surrounded by other people or not. You can be by yourself and feel like you're in great company, completely connected to the world. You can be among the wrong people, but you're surrounded by people, but you feel more lonely than ever because this is not your place to be, you know. But what ends up happening a lot is maybe you get a little too rigid, and maybe you have to be like that first. But I can think back to some relationships that maybe if I had been a bit less rigid, they could like have transformed instead of disappearing completely. But so at a point with my family, first I think it became a bit that I disappeared from a bunch of events. I had tried, I felt like, to be part of it, but I never get to be part of it the way I want. I feel like I have to sacrifice something. It's never appreciated. I just get dealt with as I'm the bad guy. But gradually, the new balance was achieved, and now it's like everyone understands, that with Theo, he just wants to do things differently, but look, that he's even here means that he wants to be part of it. Let's be happy that he's here and let him just do things his way. And that happens with some friendship relationships too, when some people think, a lot of people with me, they think that I will judge them just because I'm so into what I do. Thing is, I've been, who am I to judge anyone? Like I've been in people's shoes or way worse off. I understand the struggle. I've been there. So, well, it's one thing what I say in my videos. It's one thing what I would recommend that they do, but I don't look down on anyone just because they don't live the way I do. And some people that will just assume, they project onto me, would assume that maybe they notice that, okay, Theo, he has changed quite a bit, but maybe he's still chill, But honestly, guys, I'll say that it's still a struggle for me to kind of, like, it's very easy for me to just talk to and get connected with people here and there. I'm very outgoing, but getting and maintaining close relationship, I'm not great at. Like, first of all, I prefer to have a small circle of people that I like can really trust. Over just a bunch of these. Like, that's what I noticed, though, of course. I've spent this time so much trying to hold on to and please people that I'm not saying they're bad people or people, it's never people for me. These people didn't really care for me. I was always bringing more to the table. So now that's the kind of relationship I want. But also I've chosen this path to become really Giga Chad, coach, a teacher, a leader. And it's always a lonely place. The more you work on yourself, the king is alone, is a saying. The more, because you become so capable, you always have so much to bring to the table that even people that are decent people, well-meaning people, they just don't meet your standards. They don't have so many guys that think they're gonna be my friend. It's like, no, this is a coaching relationship, bro. It's all me. Like, I like talking to you and all, but it's all me bringing you stuff. Like, what do I get from you? And then people also often treat you as yourself. Oh, do you need to get something from me? I thought you were just friends, but it's like, yeah, that's easy for you to say because you get tons of things from me. I don't go into relationships like it's being a transaction. I can't sacrifice myself like that, So I would say today I definitely have some really good close relationships, but it's really something I'm still working on. Just it's interesting. Even when you've been a people pleaser and trying to hold on to some people, you also, it's paradoxical. You can become kind of a hyper independent. You want to be with people and that, but you feel let down so many times that you many times say, I better just do things myself, And it's easy to get stuck in that a little bit. Like, I noticed myself that I can be bad at checking in with some people and that. So I'm trying to work on that still. But yeah, it's always, guys, just realize that the harder you work on yourself, just the better of a more capable person you become, more of a lonely place it will be. Like you can be, like, I like in my life that I get to deal with a lot of people and I have enjoyable interactions, but really feeling that you have people that it's a completely equal relationship. It's not a little feeling of, yes, I really like this person and that, but I just have more to bring to the table. It's just gonna, the better you are, you leave the rest behind. And it's not the lack of, it's not from a place of looking down, it's just a fact, Funny, just a paradox, by the way. Guys that have been really eager to be like, let me see, we can be friends. See, I have the same ideas, like you, I have the same kind of, what, the person that has that kind of attitude, I can never be friends with. But there's a bunch of guys that maybe they are younger than me and haven't reached the same kind of level of self-development with me, but because they are humble and are on the same path, walking the same path, that's the thing. For relationships, it's not necessarily that, oh, everyone has to be exact at your level with everything. It's like they must be heading in the same direction, but it is that humbleness of recognizing that someone, you're actually ahead of me with a bunch of things. That's what actually makes it so like, yes, now this is not a force, like we're pretending, oh, we're just friends and everything's equal, and that's funny, that makes it a lot equal. It's like my friend, Andreas Optihon. There's a few old videos on this channel. They are in Swedish, not good audio either, but there are subtitles in English. They're kind of funny videos, and I want to do more videos with him, trying to do better production value. But you know, he is 7 years older than me, and he's just been on the same path as me for a longer time. So now you will always notice that you know, us human beings, we are so complex. There are so many different traits we have. So now I've learned that, okay, there are some things I'm better at than him. But overwhelmingly, when I got to know him, it's kind of like, he's just better than me at everything. But because I come from that place into the like, oh, I really, wow, you're an amazing guy, you know, wow. I really want to get to know you, you know, not from a like, see, I'm here, I'm on your level, so we can be friends, you know. Because of that, you know, he embraced me immediately. We became great friends, you know. Yeah, guys, I guess if you made it this far in this video, because it became longer, I knew it was going to be long, but not this long. But I tried to just tell the entire story of how it sort of happened, and mention things I think is important that I know, like things I know from questions I've gotten that even make me think of this video. That'd be interesting and of value to you. But if you made it this far, if it was specific things that stuck out to you that you would like to hear more on, because everything here, you know, that's why the videos become so long. Guys with a brain like mine and just the want to teach, and that it's like, that's why I talk so long. There's just every little thing, like, oh, I could go on about this, we could go this direction with it too. But so please let me know about that. But what I say is, I'll say this at the end, you know, like, when you have a spiritual awakening, like the one I had, there is a sort of major first shift, like where it's like there's no going back from that. You've been asleep, you've been unconscious, now you're conscious. But a mistake I did was that because I had never felt that good in my life ever before, except when I was a little kid, you know. So a part of me thought that I of course understand I need to keep evolving and learn, grow as a person, but I kind of thought that I'll never feel that bad again. And boy, did I have to learn, because I had 2 years of basically just feeling great. Like the major challenges are just feeling kind of stressed and overwhelmed about some things, you know, but really not more than that. But then had some life situations appear during these years that have just made me completely, horrifically depressed, like way down on the bottom again. The thing though is that even if during these times you regress a little bit, maybe you get just a little bit back to some vices, maybe you can't move forward full steam ahead with things in the same way, but I've never lost it. I've just started to walk slower on the path and maybe stumble, you know, but never lose it, and that's what you gotta do. And so I've just kept growing and growing and growing during these years. I've actively done so. It's not just about the training and fitness and that. I've actively searched for my insecurities, my problems, figure myself out, put myself in situations to face that. Like this fear of being judged, the stage fright, the panic attacks, they kind of made it so I had to face, it was like facing the stage fright, just all situations were like that. So I felt a lot more comfortable, but the root fear of being seen and rejected for who I am, that was still there. So, you know, by putting myself out there on YouTube, that's the first thing, even if not too many are watching. It's always been something I want to do, but a fear. Just walking around with a camera, there's people that pass by, they look at me, you know, just facing little fears like that. I'm actively, now to not make it too much longer, this video, I just want you to understand that I've worked on myself on every little level I could have found. Every little trait about me, every little thing that I noticed, this is not a strength of mine, this is a weakness of mine. I've tried to improve on it, and it's so many things, guys, and that's what the process that I've just developed and defined is uncommon sense is the philosophy, holistic bodybuilding is the practice. It's really, since I started this channel, and I started the entire process before starting this channel, but that's what I've been up to. I've just grown, so I've like I go back to some old videos sometimes and I'm like, oh shit, I knew that already back then. But it's like the core of what I've done has been the same. I just improved on everything, so I pick up more nuance, more levels. I define my ideas for myself and to you in the end. But it's the same path I've been walking on. The path of just becoming the best version of you that you can possibly be on every level. Every level, guys. So that's the path I invite you to walk on with me here. Anything, guys, that you heard about this video that you'd like to hear more about, please let me know. And if you have some kind of story you want to share in the comments, tell us about that too. And like and comment either way, it all helps support the channel, helps more people find a way here. It's very much appreciated. I do coach holistic bodybuilding through Uncommon Sense. Body, mind and soul, guys, jacked and stacked, inside and out. So if you're interested, you can send me DM or email me. A DM on Instagram or email me, it's in the description below. I'll tell you about my different programs. If you like my content and want to support me, you can become a Patreon or a member of the channel. You can leave a little super thanks comment. Super chats on the live streams we have every Sunday, 5 p.m. Central European time. And please subscribe for more content about fitness, fasting, losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. Everything. Peace.